Just gonna sneak in here. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to another video on my channel. Please drop a like on this video if you enjoy it. Second, subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram here and then Twitter right here. Let's get into today's video. Today we have a really fun topic to talk about, and that is color grading. Everybody needs to know how to color grade to get good looking footage. Color grading is also one of the hardest things to get right, and I can 100% guarantee you that. I still color grade footage sometimes and I'm like, this is awful, and I just completely restart what I'm doing because it wasn't gonna work. Today we're gonna talk about why so many people overgrade their footage. What I mean by overgrade is they color correct too far and the contrast is way too high. Your blacks are like completely as black as they can be. You get rid of detail in the shadows. Your highlights are blown out. Everything is terrible. Oh, color grading. You gotta love it. Obviously, there's some tips and tricks to help you when you're color grading. You have to get good footage from the start. You want to make sure that your settings in the camera are right so you can then do the best job you can possibly do in post when you're color correcting. I'm going to show you guys some little pointers on what you can do, especially with Canon cameras. I shoot on Canon, as you guys know, so I'm going to show you the menus and things that you can use on Canon to do that. Now, Canon has a log format that you can shoot in. However, on my Canon 80D, they do not offer that. I think it's called C-Log, but they do not offer that. So we can use the color profiles and kind of create our own C-Log format by taking everything down to 0 or less than 0, and I was showing that on screen there. What this is going to do is it's going to give us a very flat image, which we can then do a really good job color correcting in post. The reason a flat image is so good whenever you're in post-production is because there is so much more data that the camera is able to capture when you're shooting flat. So you'll get a lot more detail in your shadows, you'll get a lot more detail in your highlights, which you can then do some finagling with in post-production and make it look just juicy and crispy. Ooh, I love it. Alright, now, in my opinion, to get into the most fun part about making videos, the color grading portion. I just realized I had that light turned off over there in the corner the whole time. Just turned it on. I like that light in the corner. It gives a nice little pop to the dimension of the corner. First things first, everyone has probably heard, if you're into cinematography and travel or anything like that, of the M31 LUT. What a LUT is, it is a lookup table and it will grade your footage kind of with a little preset. The M31 LUT is very popular, especially for travel content, especially for ocean views and beaches, because it brings out oranges and teals. You've probably heard of oranges and teals effect before. The M31 LUT is just that. The main mistake a million people make is slapping the M31 LUT on their footage at 100% and just calling it quits. And I am guilty as charged. I used to do that as well. Then I got to looking at it and I was like, this contrast is way too high. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. What I have learned, and I'm gonna show you this now. Guys, you have to take the contrast, pull it all the way down to -100, then go into the creative panel, apply your LUT within the creative panel because you can adjust the strength of the LUT in there. You cannot do that in the basic correction panel. You cannot adjust the strength. You have to do this in the creative. What I usually do is I will put the LUT on after I've pulled the contrast down to -100. The reason being is because the LUT has a contrast map within it. So if you look at the Lumetri scopes, which you definitely need to have on while you're doing this, as soon as you apply the LUT, you're gonna see the shadows go down, the highlights go up, and it's gonna just sort itself out. Now obviously you're gonna have to do a little tweaking afterwards, so maybe you'll pull the contrast up just a little bit, maybe you'll pull the shadows down or up, or maybe the highlights you'll tweak a little bit, or you can go into the curves and tweak the curves a little bit as well. But this is a super easy way to do it, but you have to make sure you pull the contrast down because the M31 LUT is a very contrasty LUT and it will apply that for you. Alright guys, that is pretty much all I really wanted to say. That is the biggest problem that people do whenever they color correct. A lot of people use LUTs. Now, if you don't use LUTs, just keep an eye on your Lumetri scopes. Make sure your contrast is correct. You want to have those shadows down by 0, but not like all blacked out, and you want to have those highlights in there, get some nice contrast, and make sure your midtones are nice and in the middle, or as close to the middle as they possibly can be. That is the biggest issue when people color correct, is they just make everything too contrasty, and it's kind of hurts to watch the video because you can't really tell what's going on, because there's either really dark spots or there's really bright spots, and there's no like mids, and it's hard to kind of see all the detail whenever you're doing it. You might think contrast, oh, it's going to bring out all the details, it's going to look really great. Yes, to a certain extent, but if you over contrast your footage, it is not going to look good, and I can promise you that because I used to do that myself. Guys, nobody's perfect. You're going to learn along the way. I learned that I was doing this, and some of you that are probably better at color correcting than me probably still look at my footage and you're like, oh, that's amateur. Yeah, I probably will look back in about a year and be like, wow, that is absolutely terrible. I don't know why I was even color correcting like that. So guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Super quick. Tried to make it as informative as I possibly can. I want to have you guys learn from my mistake before you make the mistake yourself, because then you won't have to look back on your footage in like 6 months to a year and be like, wow, I did not know how to color grade. You're just gonna go out there and create banger shots right from the beginning, and it's just gonna look super crispy, super nice quality color, and just everything is gonna look juicy. Alright, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button with the notification bell, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, do all of those things, and you will get notified on one of those platforms whenever I come out with new content. I try to come out with new Instagram content on a daily, but sometimes that doesn't happen. I try to get it out as much as I possibly can. So, I will see you guys in the next video next week. That's when we'll do another one. Have a great day.
You wanna know just where